Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Atkins. Today we're going to be going over the coach with you. We're going to be starting up front here. Pretty much this is going to be our tongue jack. This is how we're going to be getting on and off the coach. Or on and off the tow vehicle, sorry. But this is also how you level the coach from front to back. But before you do so, you do want to make sure you're level from side to side first. We usually recommend putting a carpenter's level right beside the doorway. You use the tow vehicle to help you roll onto blocks if need be to level from side to side. After you've done the side to side, that's when you unhook from the tow vehicle, pull it forward, and level from front to back using this guy. Once you're level from side to side, front to back, then you lower your stabilizer jacks. Those guys are going to be located on each corner of the camper, and it is a 3/4 socket. Nice thing about these is we'll actually step over here to the side real quick. You have what they consider to be strong arms. So once this is down, you're going to tighten those little T's down there. On the other side should be our tool for that. Always keep them loose whenever you go to bring them up or down, and you just tighten them for that stability. Once the camper's been leveled and you're just stabilizing the camper. You're not to lift the camper with these guys. They're meant to just stabilize, not lift. Underneath here we got our 2 propane tanks. They're 2 20-pound tanks. We are going to go ahead and turn those guys off. Both these tanks have been filled. The only thing that was used on it was pretty much what we used to test the systems with, just to make sure there are no gas leaks. You do have just a single style regulator. So pretty much if you turn them both on, you're just going to start drawing from both of them. You ain't going to know when the canisters are empty. We do recommend having only one on at a time, so that way you know when one of the tanks is empty. And then back behind that's where our battery is going to be located, just a 24 series deep cycle battery. Well, I still got this off. Back behind, underneath here is where your battery disconnect is. Pretty much it's just a key. This guy turns and will pop out, and it can hang. Generally, you're going to do this whenever you are storing the camper. Whenever you're pulling the camper or plugged into sure power, you want to make sure that this key is twisted into the locked position for it to be on. It's charging the battery for us. This is pretty much your little pass-through for your front storage. It does travel to the other side as well. I'll show you the other side. It's where our crank handles are. We got our furnace here. It is recommended you get mud dauber screens for this. Helps keep the mud daubers out, but also keeps the wasp out of there. They can actually fly through the ductwork and get inside the camper through here. Next, we have the city water hookup. With this, we do recommend using a pressure regulator on the spigot. From there, your options have a blue or white water hose, inline water filter, and then plug in. Turn it on. You'll be able to use the cold water side. The hot won't be usable until the tank has been filled. Right next to that is going to be where our freshwater tank is. Pretty much this is gravity fed. You just stick the hose in and let it fill. And then you'll read the indicator inside for when the monitor says it's full, that you can come out here, shut it off, and pull. This warning's here to make sure that you don't leave it unattended. Water shooting out of here over time can cause damage both to the outside and inside of the camper. As you see, the fresh water drain is going to be located down here back behind the tire. It's going to be on the back side of this tire here. It might be a little easier to see here from the other side and to get to. And it's got just a handle that you would pull open to drain. It's got the nice 2-inch valve, so it dumps it out pretty quick. You got the notice sticker here. This is on both sides. This will tell you to make sure you check your lug nuts. These are 19 millimeter. I recommend checking them pretty much anytime you leave the campsite. The reason why is because you're stopping to go get gas most of the times when you leave. So while you're filling, go ahead and check the lug nuts. This sticker here is also to make sure you generally check them at 50, 100, and 200 miles. You also want to keep the tire pressures topped off. I believe these guys were 65 PSI. Let me double check just to make sure. 65 PSI. Always make sure to keep these guys topped off. The green caps do show that they are nitrogen filled. Okay, if they do get low, you can't put air on top of that. That is okay. If you ever decide you want to put nitrogen all the way back in them, wherever you go to get that done, you have to let them know that you put air in the tires so they can purge the tires for you. Up here is going to be your vent for the stove. A couple clips here to unhook it. to open the little window there, and then it'll fling open whenever you turn the fan on. Generally, you keep it closed to kind of help try to keep the bugs out of there. We got our 30 amp power cord. This is yours to take with you. This here just tells you the supply that it requires. That way you ain't trying to plug it into like a welder plug or a dryer plug or anything like that. You will fry almost every wire in your camper and appliance. Back here in the back is going to be where our dump is located. You got your gray handle for the gray tank, black handle for the black tank. Gray is going to be the kitchen sink, bathroom sink, and shower. And then of course black is just your toilet. Always recommend doing black first. Connect your sewer hose, open it to dump. You do have a black tank flush. I'll show you that here in just a moment. And how to use that. Once you've done do the black though, you close that, then open the gray to help rinse out your sewer hose. Next you have your low point drains. You got red and blue for hot and cold lines. These are the lowest points of the water lines in the coach. Generally when you're done camping, open up your bathroom faucet, open up these. As you go home, it's going to push all that excess water out for you so you don't have any leftover stagnant water in there where you don't get that rotten egg smell. It's also used for winterizing. Here you got your cable and satellite hookups, campground cable, or if you had a satellite. You do have the spare tire here. Right here is that black tank flush I was telling you about. Pretty much this is just a sprayer inside the tank, sprays around and gets the nastiness out. I do recommend using a pressure regulator for this as well because there's a plastic check valve on the back side of this that can get damaged if the water pressure is too strong. I also like to tell customers, keep it simple, black tank, go out and buy yourself a black hose. Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever you can get one cheap or affordable. Hook that up, turn that on, make sure that dump is open before you turn the water on. Okay? Once you're done, you shut it off at the water spigot, unhook it from the water spigot. The reason why is because there's a hose on the back side of this. It's from this long, potentially this long, to that plastic check valve. There is no pressure to push that water through, so that water still sits in that hose. And once you take the hose off here, it drains out. So if you unhook it from the spigot, it'll drain out that way. Next, we have the water heater. This is the back of the water heater. Pretty much whenever you go to drain this guy, you're going to open this guy to relieve the pressure, and you're going to remove this guy down here. This is what they call the ano rod. What this guy does is it attracts the impurities in the water and attacks the rod, not the tank, because the tank is a steel tank. You do have options for gas or electric. Gas is going to be controlled from the inside on the control panel. I'll show you that in a minute. For the electric, there is actually going to be a switch located down here at the bottom. You have your outside shower, pretty much hot and cold water. They do provide an outside sprayer for you as well. This guy is just tied into the cold water line. That should be located right here. This guy right here. Pretty much there's two little notches right here. You pretty much it pushes in and twists to lock into place. And then you got your sprayer on there with the different settings. Next, we do have the outside grill. This guy here, oh, wrong end. This guy here is going to connect to the back side of your grill. Like so. From there, you can generally, I just feed it through. Oh, and it's on that side. Quick connect, and then this is going to turn on the flow for the propane to come through. Once done so, it's when you use this guy here. It's got the sparker, and you're going to do so until it lights. Once it's lit, you set your temperature, and you can set your grill right on top. These guys have not been seasoned. I recommend going to YouTube and looking up how to season a Blackstone. And that gives you a nice, good, proper way to season a flat top. They do provide a lock back here, so if it starts to go, it only goes so far in. There is also warning labels right here as well about using the outdoor kitchen area, and then a warning about the awning needs to be in whenever you go to cook. The heat can start to cause damage to the awning over time. You do also have your outside refrigerator. This guy is 110 only, so you do have to be plugged into Sure Power for this to have power. Does have a small freezer section in there as well up there. You have a hookup so you can bring the TV, set up a TV outside, and then the 110 plug for that. It is GFCI protected. I do have your outside speakers turned on at this time. I'll show you how to turn those on and off as well. And then they got some lights that come on with them also that's controlled by a switch. I'll show you that. It's next to your awning light switch. Inside here was our other storage compartment side. Pretty much here, they provide you the socket for your stabilizers. The small one here is going to be for your tongue jack. For some reason something happened to the motor, you can still crank it. And then your other one here is going to be for the tighten those T's on your T strong arms. And then they do provide this as like a dry erase board. So like if you run out of something that you need to get for the camper or for your campsite or something like that, you can always write it down. And whenever you go to leave, you can take a picture, or whenever you get home, you can always, just take a photo. Before we step inside with your steps, you do have to make sure this door is all the way in the open position when you go to bring these guys in. If not, this leg here can hit the door, over time cause damage. This guy locks in. Once the door is shut, it keeps that from bouncing around. You do have adjustments for the feet right here. And you do always want to make sure that this guy is always flat with the threshold, or else it will cause issues with the door opening and closing. Right now I'm going to go ahead and step inside and open up our awning, and we'll show you how to do that. It's pretty much going to be controlled by the only switch on here. Oh. One thing you do have to keep note is your door has to be squared up like so. If it's opened all the way, it does block that arm. Pretty much what we're looking for is right about here. You got your flaps completely vertical with the ground. The awning does also have a pitch setting. I'll show you on this side because they have the sticker on here. Pretty much you can pull it down and it will create a pitch as a shade protectant. I have to tell you that. They do recommend that if it is going to be raining or storming, it should be brought in. I also like to say whenever you go to bring these in, try to have just a slight angle on them. Being a lot of people have the tendency to try to push them vertical, where they end up over pushing them, and that will cause damage to the inside components to where you try to open it up, and this is all it's going to do is come out and sit just like this all the time. So always try not to overextend it. With the awning open, you can also kind of see the lights a little better on here. And like I said, it's going to be controlled by a switch inside here. And turn those lights on and off. And I'll actually show you which one that one is here if you want to step on inside. That's going to be this switch right here. And that's going to be for the radio lights. Now, the other one here is going to be for your awning lights. Sorry, I'm making it look like a party in here because your lights here are actually controlled by this dimmer switch. So if you press and hold this button, it will actually dim the lights. So if you wanted a nice little romantic evening, If you want them bright, if you just touch it, it turns them off. And it does have that label for you as well. On our control panel here, you got the water pump. You're only going to be using the water pump if you're hooked to the fresh, or if you're using the fresh water tank. The gas option for the water heater. We already talked about those light switches there. And this is what brings our awning in and out. So while that's coming back in, up here we got our tank statuses. That does also tell you the status of the battery. But then you got fresh, black, and gray. And then it is prepped for solar. We generally leave this sticker on here because it has the cutout that we would need for the control panel if you ever decide to install solar on the unit. Whenever you go to close the door, you got this handle here. Close the door, this handle here opens it, and then the red is your deadbolt. You do also have your fire extinguisher. Sounds like we got something in there rattling around in our vent there. This light switch here is going to be for above the couch / bed. You do have a little closet area on both sides. And each side does have a 110 plug. We do also have USB hookups. Pretty much for as the bed aspect, you move these guys out of the way. This here will lift, come down. Then you unlock the bed. This guy will come down. This actually locks onto this little plate down here to lock the bed into place. As you kind of heard. It's very important that you always pull that handle when you go to lift the bed so you don't damage any of the stuff that it's tied into. You do have the cubbies to where you could easily slip in there for the 110 outlets. Pull the handle to release and then lift. This guy can be in the down position during travel. It does not matter if it has to be up or down during travel. And these guys here just kind of slide right in your little grooves on the side. You got your little armrests. Over here, this guy here is going to be your fire escape window. This guy is on a hinge, so it will fling open, so if you couldn't make your way to the door, you have a way to get out. They do also have one up there in the top bunk as well. Down below here is going to be our carbon monoxide and LP detector. I am going to pretty much perform a test right now. So it is always recommended you do that usually every 9 to 14 days. So the best way to look at it is every time you go out camping. Go ahead and test that guy. If you're doing a long period of trips, like I said, every 9 to 14 days. You just want to make sure it works. You do have your extended table. Try not to go too heavy on this. When you lift, we'll sit down. We got our sink area here. We got the storage underneath, and then this is going to be your furnace. We got the microwave. Pretty self-explanatory with the microwave. We usually recommend setting the clock. If something goes wrong with the campsite, power goes out, this will have to be reset. You can tell there's a problem at the campsite and figure out what's going on. Then we got our hood range. Always want to make sure that this is on whenever you go to cook. This guy flips up, flips back. And then this guy here is going to be your spark igniter. Turn this guy to high. It'll light. We did turn off the tank, so it's going to shut off in just a second on us because we did turn off those tanks. Same concept with the oven. You got to turn it to the light, but you got to push and hold it in while you spark ignite. Once it's lit down here, you keep that pressed and held in for 5 to 7 seconds, then set the temperature. And then this here is just your little ambiance lights. And it is also the light for the oven also. You make sure this is down during travel. Next we have our 12-volt style fridge. There's a setting for the freezer part. I usually like to keep it in the middle. Cold does keep it at, below freezing. Colder will start to actually cool the fridge and also potentially start freezing items in the fridge as well. The fridge does have its own temperature setting up here. You just got to push the button to change it. We like to turn them on 4 or 5 to get it good and cold. Once it's been cold, we set it at 3 or 4. Generally, it does take usually about 24 hours for these guys to fully cool down. I do like to tell the customers, go to the grocery store earlier in the week and get groceries because they'll be colder coming out of your fridge than they will be from the grocery store. Down below is going to be our fuse control panel box. Anything that runs on the 110 is going to be on your breakers. Anything that runs off the 12 volt is going to, or off the battery, is on the fuses, and they have everything labeled for you for what they are. We'll turn our lights back on. It was looking a little dark in here. Pretty much you got your bathroom area kind of sink. Has a light for that, light switch for that. You got your GFCI. This is where it gets reset. So if for some reason the plug's not working, check this guy to make sure it hasn't been tripped. You do got the medicine cabinet here as well. They do provide this strap here to kind of hook on the back side right here to lock it into place during travel. Then we got our thermostat here. With this guy, right now, when I came in, it was reading 96 degrees. Fed it on for about 45 minutes, and we're down to 86 right now, so it is doing pretty good. It is probably working a little overtime. Pretty much, though, the last option it's going to give you is the furnace. When you first go to turn this on, it's going to be fan low, fan high, cool low, and these two settings here, it continuously just runs. And then after that, you got cool low auto and cool high auto, and that's where it would kick on and off on its own. And then you can just set your temperature with this guys here. You do got storage underneath the sink as well. Then inside here, pretty much we have the toilet area and our shower. The shower does have a reducer on it to reduce the flow of water. The reason for that is because your water heater is only 6 gallons. The average American uses 38 when they take a shower, so you're just outmatched. That reducer helps you try to conserve your hot water. Best thing you do is you turn it on, you get yourself all rinsed down, hit that reducer, suds up, turn it on to rinse off, and then get out. It's about the best way you're going to be able to conserve your hot water. With the toilet, whenever you're going to add water to the toilet, you're going to lightly press on this pedestal to add water. All the way down will flush. We do recommend trying to keep water in here on that seal so that way it doesn't get dry, rotted, or brittle. Then you do have your top and bottom bunks. The bottom bunk does have a light underneath as well, and then there's one up here for the top. You got your pretty much your drape that folds over to block off the area from them. You got a USB hookup. Pretty much your TV hookup is going to be located here on the back side. Pretty much generally gets mounted right here. Your wires go through here. And then all your stuff is located right there. That's also where your TV antenna booster is located. You generally got to have that on because that is the radio. The radio antenna is usually tied into him as well. As you see, your table is actually down in the bed position. Very much to set it in the upright position, you would just lift this guy up. You have 2 legs here. There's 2 holes. Goes in. Table sits right on top. This guy can be either in the bed position or no. Stand corrected on that. This does have to be in the upright table position during travel because there is no straps to hold it down, and a strong enough churn can actually cause this to slide out and pretty much hit your stove and cause problems. So we are actually going to go ahead and put this together. As you see right here with our legs. we go. You do have storage underneath each bench seat as well. Then we have our radio up here. There is no remote for the radio. This guy here is, you pretty much download an app on your phone as the remote. Oh, had our outside speakers on. That was going to be speaker zone 2. Is going to be our inside speakers. Speaker zone 1 is your outside. You only got to hold that button for 3 to 5 seconds. AM, FM, USB hookup, Bluetooth mode, and then you can like kind of hook up a HDMI port. I don't fully understand the whole concept because you still can't watch a movie through this. And this isn't tied into a TV port or anything along those lines. Alright, other than that, we have made our way back to the door. I hope you guys get a chance to enjoy this camper. And if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to call us. And we hope you guys get to enjoy it. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Atkins, and have a wonderful day.